my slide deck, if you can just put onto the chat box on the right hand side of the screen, just give me confirmation you can see the slide deck, or give me a thumbs up. That would be marvelous. Thank you. Yes, excellent, great. So let's get going. Thank you, everybody. I can see a few names there that I recognize. So marvelous to have you here again. Sorry for the inconvenience, but hey, we're here and we're sorted now. So let's get going. So influencing with impact to gain consensus. I'm going to start with a question now. I'm going to make this just a little bit more interactive than the last one. So what I'd like to know is, for you, because I need to get an understanding of what consensus decision-making is for you. So can you put something onto the chat box on the right-hand side and let me know how would you define consensus decision-making for yourself? If you put something into the chat on the right-hand side, we can see what we're dealing with. What situations do you use? Do you want to gain consensus in for decision making? Who do you do that with? Where does it happen? Compromise and agreement on common ground. Getting all members of a trade association to agree to targets. Oh, wow. Okay. Very best luck on that one, Emma. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, I get that one. A decision to which everyone agrees. Yes. General agreements. Yes. So we even now, Navdeep and David, we've got these two, both on the same side. We both want agreement, but it's a decision which everyone agrees or which most people agree to. So it's quite interesting. And it is about, as Adrian says, exactly building collaborative relationships. That's one of the ways to influence, absolutely and utterly, and supporting positive culture within the organization. Paul, fantastic point. This is all about culture. It is about the culture within the organization. So if you can use the chat box just on that right-hand side, everybody, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Linda says, gaining broad agreement to a decision, not necessarily all agreed, but no sustained objections. I like that. I love that, in fact, Linda. Thank you so much. That's great. So I've got a definition that I'm going to put up on the screen here. There's no one clear definition that works. I like everything that's been put up here. Whilst we're doing that, could you just you put in some examples. Can you put more examples in? And I'm going to give you an example of how this is done every single day, how you do this every single day. So I want to take all the black magic away. I want to just create normal, open magic. And so just put in the chat box on the right-hand side any examples that you can think of where we seek to gain consensus, where we influence people to gain that positive consensus. Just give me some examples of that. You'll see on the screen, meanwhile, where we've got the what is consensus decision making, one of the many, because there are many things to work from. It's a process where everybody who is affected by a decision has their say, and the group looks for ways forward that everyone can support. Now, that definition I don't 100% agree with, because it's all about all. It's talking as in absolutes and not as in selections. So brilliant. Selecting a TV channel. Yes, I'm guessing that we all know about that if we're in a relationship. Determining the risk of selling a product versus taking off sale. Oh yeah, that is, yeah, because it doesn't always come down to just the monetary or the risk element of money. There's so many different factors in that. That's a really, really good one. Working on the project, absolutely. Chris updating BSI standards. Yes, indeed. Oh, yes, of course. What's for dinner, Anya? Well, I don't know what is for dinner, but I'm starting to feel a little bit hungry. I don't know about you, but I'm starting to lose a little bit of weight for those holidays that we haven't had in 3 years. So I'm thinking of dinner already. But yeah, you're absolutely right. What's for dinner? Yeah, that's when we seek to gain consensus by influencing for impact. Yeah, that's exactly. Where are we going for dinner? Even better, Joanna. I love what's for dinner, and I like especially where are we going for dinner, because then I don't have to make it. There's no washing up. That's a great one. Timescales on a project. Oh gosh, yes, because you've got so many different people with so many different ideas and different ways of working and different timescales, expectations. Yes. Requirements, specs, quality versus cost. Oh yes, that's the old balance, isn't it, Philip? It's the old balance. Voting positions. David's raised an interesting point, because when we look at voting positions, that's when we go into negotiating and influencing as well, because it depends what type of negotiator you are, what type of system you're using, and again, what the other person is using. And this goes back to the Enigma machine type of concept that we were talking about in the first session, for those of you that were there. And this is about David could be very open to compromise, but the other person may not be open to it at all, and they may be what we call a positional bargainer. So if they are, we have to understand what their position is. There are always two lines within this decision, and which I'm going to come to. There's two barriers, 2 points that I want you to start thinking about, which I'll come back to. Chris, where to go on holiday? Absolutely, Chris. Mine's booked. Egypt, here I come. 40-degree heat. That's what I'm looking forward to melting. I don't know about anybody else. Where do we prioritize resources? Yes, absolutely. There's that word prioritization again. Because when Adrian says that, and this is what I want you to think about, consensus decision making. If Adrian, Paul, Victoria, and me are in a group, and Adrian is asking, where do we prioritize resources? He's probably got one idea. Paul might have a different one. Victoria might have a different one, and I might have a different one. So whose priority do we work to? And that's where we get to. Did you all think I froze there for a second? That's where we get to. So mergers, there you go. Perfect, in one word. Thank you, Victoria. So what I'd like you to do, just right at the start, I'm going to just bring in some negotiating terms just for you to think about. You may have heard of them, you may not. But what I'm going to introduce to you are, well, 3 terms really. They are acronyms. The first one is BATNA. Second one is WATNA. And the third one, if you know what I'm talking about, is ZOPA. So BATNA is your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Your best alternative. What is your win? It might be a win-win, but what is your absolute win? What's the best level? What does that look like? What does that include? What are all of those things that involve, Paul, involving all stakeholders in a decision and gaining an outcome that is, as far as possible, a win-win situation? That is what we are aiming to do. And when we do that, if we aim for as much as possible a win-win situation, that's when influencing impact really can be measured and used. So if we're talking about resources, if we're talking about requirements, specifications, quality, cost, this is your best alternative. This is your best case scenario. So that's one line that you've got. You've also got your WATNA, which sits down here somewhere. And that is your worst alternative to a negotiated agreement. So what's the least that you are prepared to accept to move forward? So you see, by doing this, then we've created this zone, and that's the ZOPA. That's the zone of potential agreement. So you have your best alternative was up here, and your worst alternative is down here, and in between is this zone of potential agreement, the ZOPA. So if you think about this, if anybody's ever watched any house type programs, they seem to be on every channel on every country in the world, and people go to auctions or they buy houses and they say, I'm not going to go over 300,000, and they go to 350,000. Well, they did not set their BATNA, did they? They did not set their WATNA, because their WATNA was what did they say? 300. I'm not going above 300,000. WATNA is 300,000. I want to get it for about 275. Right, that's your BATNA. So you've got a BATNA of 275, a WATNA of 300. You have a ZOPA of £25,000. Does this make sense? Just let me know on the chat on the right hand side. And this is the same for anything that we are talking about and we are negotiating over when it comes to gaining consensus. So what resources the quality. What does that look like? What are you prepared to accept, and what are you not prepared to accept? Victoria absolutely nailed it. Heart versus mind. Welcome to the classic struggle. Heart versus mind. And it's so difficult when we're in this situation, when we are trying to gain consensus of all of these situations, such as painting and decorating the house. I've just moved house, can you tell? Holiday, haven't had a holiday for 3 years, so these are the examples that I came up with. Restaurant, kind of like my food, and of course the film. And I think Top Gun Maverick is being released, which I'm really looking forward to. So all these things are all of the conversations that we've had in our personal life, myself and my wife. This is what we've done just in our personal life. And then you take it into your professional life. And of course, anything that's done in personal is done in the professional world. So that's just done in the last couple of days. How many times are you doing the same thing in your professional life? It happens all the time. So can we all agree then that this is something that we face all of the time? And it is about the control of the heart versus the mind. It also goes into who you are, who you choose to be. Because what sort of an influencer are you? Do you consider yourself an introvert? Do you consider yourself an extrovert? And where are you on that continuum? Because there aren't just introverts and extroverts in this world, of course. There's all sorts of different forms, types, qualities of people. And also from introvert to extrovert, there's a continuum. So we're not all completely out there or completely don't want to say anything. It's all on a line. We like to say little bits and pieces. I'm quite extrovert. I am, as you can probably tell, because I am being my authentic self, amped up a little bit for virtual training, certainly. But this is still my authentic self. So through my experience, through my upbringing, through my early childhood, I need to be, there's a real balance there that I try to strike every time, to be an influencer. Let's be straight on this, not a social media influencer. I don't want to be an Instagram influencer with 5 million followers and product testing bananas and things. So let's not go there. What I'm talking about is everyday influence. This is on other people, partners, relationships, through to work, professional relationships. Because the simple fact, and we can't escape this, the simple fact is that the more influencer, the higher the influencer that you choose to be, that you practice to become, the greater your reach, the greater your probability of gaining consensus. So I guess it comes back to all of those skills that we were talking about previously in the first session, but also all the things outside of here. It's all about that emotional intelligence. It's about that mindfulness. It's about what I said before. This is me, but this is me amped up plus. This is me doing more to really influence you. This is me using that body language to really get ideas over to you, to push ideas, even through a camera. I know I can still reach you and I can still influence you in certain ways just by doing what I'm doing right now. And if you want to make a certain point, then of course that's very easy to do in the real world or virtually. So the different levels that we deal with, the informing, the giving input, consulting, changing to substantial input. What is the type of influence that you give? Because the more that you give, the more interested people will be within you, and the more expertise you will build as a result of it. So for some people, it's a bit painful, and please, I do accept what some people may be thinking, saying, feeling right now. I work in the world of mental health, as well as communications and corporate and every single other place on the planet. So I have a very good understanding of the different types, forms, qualities of people. And for some people, it's really, really difficult to step out of comfort zones, to be an influencer, to be somebody that puts their hand up or speaks. But the simple fact is, if you use the mask method, if you fake it till you make it, and that's incorrect, by the way. If you look at Amy Cuddy and her research on influencing, then you'll find that fake it till you make it actually should be called fake it until you become it. So Amy Cuddy, I'll just put her name into the chat, and do have a look at her on YouTube or on general internet. Loads of research, loads of findings from her. It's fascinating stuff. So when we're talking about influencing, what are we actually talking about? What are the critical levers? So what we're going to look at are 4 critical levers. We haven't got time to break down everything. I do have a process for you. I do have something about agreement or disagreement, but we're going to look at 4 critical levers just to send you away with a wee bit of a taste for thinking about something else. So organizational intelligence. What is there? What's the structure? Who sits where? What's the hierarchy like? Is it hierarchy led? Is it definitely top down, or could it be bottom up? Is it cross-cultural? What sort of intelligence are we using? BI, business intelligence, or anything else? That's an interesting point Victoria's just put on. Or coaching and mentoring to gain the culture that's needed for everyone in the organization. I believe completely in coaching and mentoring. I believe completely in any form of system, buddy system, or anything that helps the influence, the understanding, the openness of the vision and the values of the organization be spread, so that everybody understands what they are, so that we all come from the same place. So when we're communicating, we are communicating either from the same place or towards a similar position. That makes things so much easier. So it's definitely massively about the organization. If you have a coaching or mentoring resource within the organization, I guarantee you will have more positive results than an organization without that sort of culture. And it is about gaining clarity on people, on practices, vision and values. Vision and values are the most important thing when it comes to a lot of different things. But when it comes to influencing others, we need to know that the people in front of us share our vision and share our values. If they don't, how are you possibly going to influence them the way that you're influencing them alongside the vision and values? How can you possibly do that? And I'm going to reflect that back to you as a question, actually. I don't want you to tell me about your organization. Let's not go personal. I just want you from a negative perspective. I want you to tell me some positives about the communication within and influencing within your organization. Just tell me anything, how you feel it is. If you want a scale, then use a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being excellent, open, shared, 1 being completely disconnected, I can't remember the values. So 1, not very good at all, 5, completely open, fantastic, got it, use it. So just give me some ideas on that chat box on the right-hand side. Good to see Emma, excellent. Good. Joanna, excellent. That's good. Philip, great to see. Garcia, again, fantastic. Okay. These are the answers I would expect. However, you don't always get what you expect. Mark, in general, very open with ideas being shared. However, certain individuals do not engage. Spot on. Sharon, varies depending on who you're talking to. There we go. So complete backing up there. Chris, 5, communicate. Oh my God, I want to work with Chris. Communication is open and opinion is sought from all parts of the organization. That's significant. That's a significant sign of a high performing organization. Because it's all about the people. It's about the people culture. And if Chris gives that sort of answer, then that means that the organization is looking after the people. Mark and Sharon, however, it's so true. Andrea, thank you so much. It's so true. We can have a great organization, We can have a great organization. However, if one person or two people or three people are just that little bit different, or don't fit in, or don't share it, then, or gosh, what are some of the things that I've come across in my career? Empire building, political people, people who see knowledge as power and decide not to share that knowledge or drip feed it. These are all habits of ineffectiveness. These are all ways that people think that they gain influence and can influence with impact, but they are completely detrimental to all around them, including that person. Joanna said we have 10 people in the company, all sharing the space, so it's very easy at this size. Absolutely. Communication is really easy with that sort of number. That's excellent. Comms does tend to be filtered around individuals, departments, goals. Yes. Philip, I'm going to come back to that in a second. Sharon, yep, work for managers that are very toxic. Absolutely. I've worked for two women in my life, two female leaders in my life. One of them, awful, just the worst person, human being ever. I'm not going to go into that story at all. The second one, she was amazing. She's one of the best. I would go into battle for, I always just say with her, I go into battle for her. She was fantastic. All of us are still connected on Facebook because of her. She really knew how to influence, how to build a team, how to gain consent. She didn't have to really influence us because she built the team around the vision and the values and around the people. Therefore, gaining consensus was actually quite easy. But what she'd also do is she'd delegate the gaining of consensus to a particular person. So she'd empower one of the team to actually run the project, the meeting, the whatever it was, and get them to say it. And she was incredibly, I learned so much from her. She was brilliant. She just used to sit back like this and just watch us. Because of course, you're more likely, if me, Sharon, Chris, and Andrea are in our company of 10 together, then Sharon's more likely to agree, and Chris and Andrea, with us if I'm in our team and I'm the one putting it forward rather than our manager, our director. Does that make sense? Hopefully so. So she was amazing. She was still one of the best times of my life working for her. I'm working with her because I'm going to just go back to what Philip said around individuals, departments, and goals. One of the truths, and this is the thing that we need to realize when it comes to influencing and it comes to gaining consensus. If you're a manager of people, your people do not work for your organization. Paul's company has 32 people, 3 areas of operation. The people within each area work for the person that manages, directs them. They will not work for the organization. They won't feel like they work for the organization. They will feel entirely, because we are people driven. We are tribal. We are herd. We are pack animals. We work for and with people. We work to them, not the organization is secondary. Yes, of course, we do work to the organization, but we work to the person. Right, so let's have a look. With 3 areas of operation, my area is very communicative, whilst the 2 are more restrictive, so it does lead to a divide. There you go. So that's what you have when you don't have cross-culture, or you have different cultures within the overall culture. This is exactly what happens. Paul, thank you so much for that. Fascinating, really interesting. Andrea, you are absolutely on the button. Organizational culture is everything. The ripple effect is where we start. So I never believe when people say, well, I have no impact. I'm at the bottom, I'm in the trenches. There is absolutely bottom up. You have an influence. We all have an influence. There is a ripple effect. You will be listened to. Your effect will, people may not know your name at whatever level, but your message can be heard at certain points. So people driven is a key point. Absolutely, Victoria. Thank you for that. Andrea, 5, but with 17,000 people sharing ideas in teams. There you go. Yeah, and again, and I was having this conversation with an organization called JCB in the UK, who are a fantastic, beautiful culture. I'm working with them and their whole organization, and they've got this fantastic tie-in between everybody at all levels, so it doesn't feel like a hierarchy. There's real communication, and that's through the social media, the teams, Yammer, the intranet, everything that's working. So they've got this. So when they want to make changes, such as with JCB, it's about shifts and shutdowns. So when they want to communicate that, if they have to take a shift away, or they have to put people on shutdown for an extra day or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, which impacts pay, then their workforce accept it. Of course, there's always 1 or 2 people who go, oh my goodness me, but the vast majority of JCB's workforce accepts it because they've set them up to help them understand that within the organizational culture that they're doing the best for them with every decision that is made, whether they can manage to communicate that decision or not. It's fascinating to see. Team promotion. Promoting your team and yourself to create more visibility for the work you're doing. And I think that's, and again, this is the introvert extrovert. This is the type of person that we are. I'm appearing to you now, doing all of this, waving my hands around. So this is me doing something that's slightly uncomfortable. It's not natural. I'm doing this more so I can get some points over. And the reason I'm doing that is to show you how we can do it. It's still my authentic self. This is still me, but I'm just putting on my work mask of influence, of control, of impact, in order to get my message over, to really push whatever it is over to you that and what I'm doing as well is key. I don't know if you've realized this, but I've been influencing with impact to gain consensus all the way through today. So what I've been doing is referring to people, their opinions. So I've created an inclusive atmosphere in our organization here today at this moment. And I've also used your names, because there's a certain power when it comes to using people's names. And that works on a deep, deep subconscious level. So apologies for the influencing manipulation, but it's been positive, hopefully. And it's just little tips and hints that can really build trust, which of course is the third point, build and maintaining trust. Here's a question for you. If I destroy your trust, if you have just one negative experience, how many positive experiences do you have to have with me before you trust me again? Put the number onto the chat box on the right-hand side. If you have one negative experience with me, how many positive experiences do you have to have with me to trust me again? Joe, realistic, 9, thank you. 20, Chris, okay, good, still realistic, yeah, absolutely. 20, 25, David, 100 or so. David's very unforgiving. David's very cut and dried. David, that's a lot. That is a lot, but it's a good guess. Thank you so much. Joanna, again, so many, may never reach it. And and David and Joanna are absolutely right. It may be. Oh, who said that? Linda. Oh, Linda. Check out, it's Pulp Fiction time. Check out the big brain on Linda. Excellent job. So it's 12. There's loads of studies that do this. It is indeed very hard to regain reputation. Trust is one thing. Reputation is actually different. We haven't got time to go into it, but it's fascinating. There is a direct connection there, obviously. Reputation, I mean, it depends what type of reputation. What level? Is it public? Is it private? Oh my goodness, there's so much. But sometimes trust cannot be regained. Absolutely, Philip. And that depends on the type of relationship that you're talking about. And obviously, when we talk about personal relationships, once the trust has gone from a personal relationship, sometimes trust cannot be regained. From a professional perspective as well, sometimes trust cannot be regained. However, mostly it is, for every one negative experience that you have with me, it takes me 12 positive experiences to get you back on board, for you to trust me again, for you to say, yeah, he was not good that time, but we'll just put that down to an anomaly. It was just what he was going through at the time, what he was experiencing. It was something else. 12 times he's been consistent. He's been the person that I know him to be, and he's given me the result that I expect, want, or need, because wants and needs are very important. Let's have a look. Here we go. So, Mark, depends how positive the following experiences are and how bad the initial experience was. Absolutely. Everyone makes mistakes. Oh, fantastic. Well done, Mark. Everyone makes mistakes, so I'm willing to move on quickly. And that's the type of culture that we build. We build an acceptance of failure, which can seem very frightening at the start. Acceptance of failure, as long as there is growth and learning. And the only way you can grow and learn through failure is, as Mark said there, willing to move on quickly. Look for what we can learn from it. Do not repeat it. And that way, failure becomes one of the best learning lessons in the world, the fastest way to learn, certainly. So that's brilliant. Thank you so much for that. Trust is essential, 100%, Andrea. How the organization responds to disaster can regain trust. That's a really good point, that's a really good point. I used to be in corporate banking. I was an associate, gosh, could take me back to the day now. I was an associate director for HBOS and Lloyd's. And we had a disaster recovery team. We had a disaster recovery policy. And this was back in the 90s and in Birmingham. I used to travel all around the country, and Birmingham was one of the main centres, south side of Birmingham near the airport. And one day there was something that happened. There was a massive power cut. Something happened, massive power cut. Everything within the district went down, and suddenly we saw the people that we'd almost never seen before, and they were running around the office and, right, okay, you there, this, that, everything else. And they got us up and running within 1.5 hours at a different location, which is our disaster recovery site, 10 miles away. So lots of people left to man the office, most people over at the second site, systems and everything, but we had a 1.5 hour downtime, which is terrible, which shouldn't have been that long, but how many times you get to practice these things? So disaster recovery, personal or professional, can absolutely make that difference. Didn't lose one customer. Everybody was understanding. Relationships actually built because of that. Also can be influenced by other people's opinions of the person in question. Oh yes, well, that's the consensus thing. If you're saying, yeah, he's really good or she's really good, and other people saying, she's not, she's not, he's not, then, oh, hang on, am I being influenced by you or am I influencing you? I don't know where we are here. Yeah, patterns of behavior. Absolutely, Mark. Thank you so much. That's what it's all about. It's all about trends and anomalies. Just very quickly here, Emma, what you say about the power of using someone's name is interesting. I was in a virtual meeting with a single person recently who used my name a lot. Yeah, okay. And it made me feel a bit uncomfortable. Is there a line? Oh, yes, there is. Oh, my goodness, yes. Yeah. Normally, I ask permission. Normally, first of all, I ask permission because one of there's a thing that we call the 6 principles of truth. One of the 6 principles of truth is that we need permission. We need permission for so many different things, to have a conversation, to talk about our mental health or physical health. That's why you've had this campaign in the UK about, are you okay? Are you really okay? Asking the question twice. The second question is not a question. It's not the same question. The second question is giving the person the need for permission. It's giving them permission to speak. Same thing here. Yeah, you do have to know. I'm not going to say, well, Emma said this, and yeah, Emma, what do you think about this? And Emma, oh yeah, Emma. Anyway, as we were saying, Emma, you absolutely just use people's names sparingly, such as David's that we had before. That general agreement comment that he put before. That was fantastic. What I just said there made no sense. Just saw David's name, just brought him back into the conversation. And now I won't be using David's name for another several times. So I try to spread things around and do not overuse. Overuse
Sorry, everyone. Sean seems to be having a little trouble. Please bear with. Thank you.
Hear me?
Yep.
Yep, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Right, okay, let's get back off here. I do apologize, folks. Right, just to round off the session, here we go. So just very quickly, where's my sharing of screen? I'll get back to there. More, share screen. Here we go. Just to round off quickly, Sean. Here we go. Right, hopefully you can all see the screen. I'm presuming you can. Please put on the chat if you can't on the right-hand side. I just put this on, so I'm going to point you towards a YouTube video, which is called Secrets from the Science of Persuasion, which is brilliant, and it's way too long to show in this session. So Secrets from the Science of Persuasion. Have a look at this on YouTube. It is absolutely fantastic. So just note that down. Secrets from the Science of Persuasion, and hopefully you've got that down now. And then just to finish off, a couple of little slides just about how to gain agreement on how to deal with disagreement. So again, you can go visual, you can use cards, numbered 1 to 5. We can hold cards up. There's all sorts of different ways we can do this. We can ask people to raise hands, but always I've used this before, I've used it today, use a 1 to 5, 1 to 8 measurement scale. And you can do this virtually so that you can see how, whoops, that's wrong. That's the old concert thing, fingers, there we are. So we can see how many fingers held up, whether we agree, wholehearted endorsement. Who's that? Yeah, okay. I support, but with reservations. So that's a gradient of agreement. However, if you're in the 5, 6, 7, 8 zone, if you get enough people in disagreement, then let's talk it out. Let's look at modifying what we are talking about it. Let's ask questions. This is where the coaching and mentoring side comes in, especially coaching questioning. Let's ask those questions. Let's see why people would be so willing to veto or block or leave or not agree. Let's see where our whatnot and batnut actually are, because we have ours, but we don't know where other people's are. And then just to finish off, just thought I'd give you a little process for gaining consensus. So here you've got a simple 7-stage plan for gaining consensus, influencing for impact. So just 2 minutes before the end there, we made it, thank goodness, even with that little hiccup. Thank you so much for staying with us. Does anybody have any last questions? Does anybody have any final questions? We have about 1 minute, 1.5 minutes to go. How has it been for you? Please put any feedback or questions that you have. We've been answering loads of questions through there. That's great. Thank you, David. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Mark as well. Thank you. That's brilliant. Linda, I'll try and make sure, I'll do everything I can to make sure that you get the slides. Not a problem for attendees. I will do what I possibly can to make sure that happens. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. If you've got what you need, you are very free to leave the session and go on and have a fantastic conference. I wish you the very best for today. Have a wonderful conference, everybody. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. Philip, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Adrian, Andrea, Victoria, Emma, thanks again. Fabulous. Sharon, thank you. Bernard, love that. Have a brilliant conference. Naomi, thank you so much. Thank you. Anya, whoa, I love that. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think, yep, there we go. There's my little chat. So that's it. We are good to leave. So thank you very much, and I'll see you again. Bye. If I pull that back, then You should be seeing my